something like صدر من جلالة الملك. The news came from the majesty of the king, so and so. But the word that's used is sadara, means to emanate, to come forth, to be pronounced. So sadr is the outer form of something, or the whatever you first see of a thing, of a being, an entity, that's its sadr. That's aside from the meaning of chest. Right? And it's this other meaning of outer form of a being. And really, lima fi sudur, because sudur, in the first sense, when it's plural of chest, means chests. Just as sadr means chest, sudur means chests. But in the second meaning, sudur is actually the verbal noun of emanating, of coming forth, of being emanating forth. So shifa'un lima fi sudur, which means that you as a spiritual being, your body is being recreated at every moment. Our bodies are annihilated at every moment, in every second, in every blink of an eye, and then they're recreated again. The constant recitation of the Qur'an, the reason the recitation of the Qur'an provides healing for the chest and the heart is because the heart, the qalb, is what's aware of this new creation, this constant creation that's happening at every moment. And what reciting the Qur'an with tadabbur and tafakkur, which means with contemplation, and the contemplation that we're talking about is again connecting it back to the self and connecting it to the character trace of the Prophet ﷺ. What that recitation of the Qur'an does is it allows, it brings us in harmony with our constant emanation, with our constant fana and baqa, or fana and recreation over and over and over and over again. In other words, when somebody doesn't have shifa, the reason people have marad, have sicknesses in the spiritual heart, is we can compare them to somebody who is trying to fight the waves. They're swimming in an ocean and the waves are coming against them and they're trying to swim against the waves. They're doing that because their eyes are closed. They're not opening their eyes. You see, because the waves are the tajalliyat. The tajalliyat keep coming like waves. And sometimes they're calm and they're easy, and sometimes they're very, very rapid and very powerful. And if you're not aware of it, you could be swimming against the waves and you will not go anywhere. But somebody who has his insight open and who's in touch with his heart, the reason the heart is called qalb, is because it's from taqallub, which means fluctuation. Right? Aql, which is what most of us use today, is the intellect or reason, is from iqal, which means leash. So when you focus too much on your aql, you're put on a leash. And imagine how impossible it would be to swim in an ocean when your ankles are tied to a leash. You can't go anywhere. And that's what being too restricted by the aql. But once somebody moves down to the heart, to the qalb, then it's as they're fluctuating with the waves, with the tajalliyat. and they open their eyes and they see these tajalliyat, and then they swim with the waves. That is shifa. That is shifa in both senses. In the first sense, in the apparent sense, because you're swimming not against the tajalliyat, you're swimming with the tajalliyat, and that provides tranquility in your heart. Because the heart is where it's supposed to be. It's fluctuating back and forth, and you are with its fluctuations. But also, it is shifa'un lima fi sudur, in emanation, because you are with the tajalliyat, with the emanations. You are swimming with the current, not against the current. Inshallah, that helps. Any other questions? The physical shifa it relates to transforming the meanings of the Qur'an from the malakut to the nasut, which is your physical form. So, for example, al-ruqya, what al-ruqya does is basically takes that the meanings that are in the Qur'an and attempts to activate those meanings in the body of the person who the ruqya is recited over. So what the ruqya does is it correlates the ma'ani of the Qur'an, the meanings in the Qur'an, with which is the malakut, with the nasut of the Qur'an that exists in the human being. And that's one way to explain what al-ruqya does. And in reality, it's of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doing the healing, because the Qur'an and the ruqya is nothing but the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then when it takes place inside the human being, it's like a kalima, like a word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is taken in and then cleanses from the inside. Because the reason this works, the reason this necessarily works, is because the physical does not exercise power over the spiritual. The spiritual exercises power over the physical. We have to understand that, right? The metaphor, the tip of the iceberg, has no dominion over the actual iceberg underneath the ocean. It's the reality of the mountain of ice underneath the ocean that can move the tip of the iceberg. Now, somebody can ask, well, but what about the physical movements we do in prayer? That has effects on our spirit. The physical movements does not have effects on our spirit. It's the reality of salah. It's the reality of salah that has an effect on our spirits and bodies. But in reality, it's the spirit that exercises effects on the body and not the other way around. So this is why this is one of what I think is one of the malaise of modern day religious education, when children or young people are simply told, fake it till you make it. Keep doing the actions until eventually you get a rejuvenation. That doesn't work. If you don't, if you're not in tune with yourself, if you're not in tune with your inner reality, if you do not actively participate in a process of tahqiq, no matter how many movements you do,